Yes, good morning. My topic is all about classroom management. Okay, when you hear the word classroom or this one, the classroom management, what comes first into your mind? As a teacher, what do you mean by classroom management?
Manage the time.
Okay, that's the first one. So when you say classroom management, it involves about how to manage the time, particularly in presenting our lessons, right? Yes, Mr. Shuri?
Controlling the students.
Controlling the students and how are you going to handle the students, okay, during or after, during the presentation or after the presentations or when they are inside the classroom. What about Mr. Arset, please?
Discipline.
Okay, it concerns about discipline.
Yeah.
Okay, so classroom management is defined as what? We have, how do we define classroom management? Classroom management is a term used by the teachers to describe the process of ensuring that classroom lessons run smoothly despite of disruptive behavior by the students. Okay, so it concerns about the discipline and how are we going to handle the students during the lesson proper. Okay, so example that there are some students who are misbehaving, and how are you going to control them? Okay. And another thing is, the term also implies the prevention of the disruptive behavior. So they are interrupting you. They are making such as noise. They are making such as behavior wherein you cannot consider. Okay. So on how are you going to handle that kind of situation? And another thing, it is possibly the most difficult aspect of teaching for many teachers. Do you agree or not?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So this is what you call the difficult aspect of teaching. So, you know, if we cannot handle, if we cannot make proper classroom management, it is really difficult for us. Okay, it's really difficult for us to go over to our discussion. You prepared a lot of things, you have your lesson plan, but the students are not listening. It seems to be that you don't have the eagerness to continue to your lesson. It's simply because of, oh, they are not listening to me. Why should I exert effort for this matter, right?
Yeah.
So another thing is, classroom management involve also, like for example this one, inside the classroom. Before starting the class, make it sure that your classroom is clean. All the chairs are in proper arrangement, something like that, and as well as the computer. If you're using computer, the speakers, make it sure that they are all okay, right? Another thing is I have here. Read the following statement. Do you agree or disagree? The first one is, avoid using too many gestures. They are very distracting for learners. Agree?
Agree.
Yes.
Yes. Because you know, if you're making a lot of gestures after the lesson, oh, he is Mr. blah blah blah, he is Mr. like this, he is Mr. like this. Sometimes students, you cannot avoid really the fact that students are giving you another name when it comes to your gestures, when it comes to your expressions, right? That's it. Next one is, don't point at learners. It can seem very aggressive. When you say pointing the finger, is it agree or disagree?
Of course. Agree.
Yes. In some other cultures, they really don't like this one. And there is, let's say, there's an interpretation when it comes to pointing like this one. If you're pointing one finger to the students and you are pointing four to yourself. Example, you're a bad student. So meaning to say, so he just received 1 and you receive 4 or 3, something like that. Meaning say, if he's bad, you're worse. Right?
Yeah.
That's something like that. Next one, classroom are places of study, so they should be largely quiet. Agree?
Yeah.
Yes. Next one, if learners want to make contribution, they should put up their hand and wait to be asked. Put up their hand. Example, they want to ask question, they want to give answer.
Yeah.
Putting up their hands. What's the reason behind for that one?
And not to interrupt the teacher all the time.
Yes.
To
So,
manage that.
it's not to interrupt the teachers, to show respect to the teachers while he is speaking. Okay? So maybe some other students like to speak, so that you will know who are you going to choose to speak. So they have to raise their hand. And some other teachers, I think they are not, it's okay for them to speak. Okay? While they are having example, if all the students sharing equal respect to each other. Next one. Demonstrate activities is sometimes better than explaining activities. Demonstrating activities is better than explaining activities. Agree or disagree?
Agree, because there are visual students.
Yes. So sometimes it's really better than this one, you know. So if you keeps on explaining activities through verbal, sometimes there are some students who are not listening. And after that, while you are doing the activity, teacher, siya, na mafimalum. So what you have to demonstrate, okay, you have to demonstrate, maybe you say something about the instruction, and after that, it's okay to give them a demonstration what to do for a certain activity, right? Next one. These are what we call the diagrams for the classroom seating arrangement. I have here 4. Look at these diagrams. Say which arrangement would be the most suitable for the classes below. Give some reasons for the choices. It's really good that if you're having a discussion, if you're presenting lessons, we have to consider also the seating arrangement of the students. Why? Why do we need to consider the seating arrangement of the
Because
students?
some activities you need peer work or group work, so
Yes. So because every activities needs certain seating arrangement. For example, we have here. Where is it? Okay, look at the diagrams and say which agreements 1 to 4 would be the most suitable for the classes below. Give some reasons for your choices. For example, a large class. Look at the diagram. Which diagram in here?
The first one.
Yes, the first one. Why?
Because
large number of
It's a large number of students.
So
You know,
big
maybe
groups.
maybe the classroom is just as small, so it's okay just to seat them by rows. Okay. Next one, a small business English class.
So, a business.
Business English class.
Number 3.
Number 3, it's like just they're just having a meeting, right? They're just having a meeting. The teacher is just sitting in front of them, and the students are sitting
around the table.
yes, around the table, and while the teacher is giving instructions, so they are all listening. So it's like they're just having a meeting in a business company. Next, a grammar presentation.
I think 2.
Number 2, okay. Why, sir?
Because the students are just close to each other, so they can just have peer work.
Sharing.
Sharing.
So sharing, if someone doesn't know
Yeah,
what is that,
I don't
so
know,
he
just-
can help. They can help each other. And pair work. Pair work number
I guess pair work maybe number 2 because
2
we're
or
sitting in pairs.
4.
yeah, sitting in pairs, and number 4 also.
Yeah.
Right?
Number 4.
Next, group work.
Number 4.
Number 4, it's a group work. Next one, a written exam.
Written exam.
Written exam. And it's really hard,
None of
right? none of the above, because you know it is a tradition. It's a tradition for us that if we're having exams, you have to provide distance, you have to provide spaces, or one seat apart. Okay, one seat apart for the students so that they cannot copy the answers of their classmates. Okay, that's it. This is one aspect of classroom management, and how are you going to manage your students when it comes to the seating arrangement. It's simply because of for each activity we have what you call different situations. So you have to put them in a proper seating arrangement so that they can facilitate, they can do certain activities in a successful one.
So each time according to the activity.
Yeah, it depends
You
upon the
change.
activity. It depends upon the activity. And take note, as an ESL teacher, so we have to do this one. So because sometimes or most of the time we're having conversation. For example, pair work, group work. Sharing each other, giving opinion, giving such as instructions for that matter. So we have different sitting arrangement. Next one. I have here, according to Mr. Google, okay, I have here 10 tips for classroom management. And how are we going to manage the classroom? Okay, the first one is build community. What do you mean by build community?
That means sharing ideas.
Yes, Mr. Sharif?
To have groups, I think.
Yeah, to have groups.
To have a good, to build, what's this?
Good.
Camaraderie.
Good relationship. Okay, so building camaraderie towards each student in a classroom. As we know that community, so community, it should have a good relationship to each other. Okay, next one. Design a safe, friendly, and well-managed classroom environment. If I am a student and my classroom is not really convenient to learn, and a lot of noise and dirty, so do you expect that I can learn easily?
No,
Of course, no.
No, if the classroom is not conducive for learning, definitely the students don't like to
Yeah.
listen.
So we can say this one because we already experienced this thing, right? So in our country, public schools and private schools. So if we say public schools, the chairs are not really good, then the floor, the ceiling, and there is no air condition, ceiling fan, you don't have ceiling fans, I can really choose private because it has air condition, okay? A lot of facilities which is really good. Then
Aside from that, in public school, they don't have enough books.
what you have to do is just to share.
One book, 4 students or 3 students.
How can you study for the exam?
Yeah. What you have to do is to share, to borrow the books and photocopy. Photocopy, you have to pay a lot of money for that one. Next one is include students in creating rules, norms, routines, and consequences. What is this? Include students in creating rules, norms, routines, and consequences.
During
Yes.
the first day of class, we have to set rules and regulations inside the class. So let the students choose what they want and the norms, and to say the rules and the routines, and of course there is a consequence. Example: if they will come in class 15 minutes late, so they have to face that kind of consequences, and you have to ask them what kind of consequences do you want.
Yeah, so that's really nice, right? So I believe that the first impressions last. Example, setting rules. Okay, if you are on the first time, if you're strict to the students, you can easily get their respect. Okay, but if you are just a friendly or what do you call this one? It's like a friend only inside the classroom without building the the boundaries between students and teachers. Sometimes the respect is somehow is not there, right? So we have to create rules. Whatever your rules, okay, this is my rule before the start of the class. This is my rule. You have to do this one. You don't have to do this one. Something like that. And what you call norms, you present such as you like, for example, being a model to them. Okay, being a model to them, or set a model for them, so that they will imitate. They will imitate that kind of values or that kind of rules. Okay. Next one, we have create a variety of communication channels. What do you mean by communication channel? In our English ones, right? We have what you call the communication channel. What do you mean by communication channel?
More than one way to communicate.
Okay, those are what you call the ways of communicate. First one, second one, it circulates. Something like that. Okay, so create a variety of communication channels. What do you mean by that one? Create a variety, yeah.
Different ways that students can react with the teacher and
Different ways on how students can can answer, can react, can give opinion to the students. For example, what is that? What is that way? Can you give me one way, sir? For example, a student's asking to go to the bathroom. How can he say to that one?
Polite expression.
Polite expressions, or simply, because I'm not the type of teacher, if they're asking to go to the bathroom, I don't like to hear, teacher, I'll go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. They can just make a sign. Okay, they can just make a sign, raise their hand, and sign going to the bathroom. Sometimes it interrupts and say, "Excuse me, teacher. Oh, you have the answer. No, teacher. I wanna go to the bathroom." So you're thinking that he wants to answer. He wants to answer the question.
I think that means that you should state the time and when he can speak about the bathroom and when he can answer and when.
I don't agree, Mr. Sharif. It's simply because if you're going to set a time, what if it's an emergency going to the bathroom? He has to wait the time going to the bathroom, right? What I'm talking in here is the way of communications to them. How do you communicate? What's the process of communications that involves the management inside the classroom? Next one, we have always be calm, fair, and consistent.
Yes.
Yeah. So you always be calm. Do not always make shouting. So example, you're mad. You keeps on shouting and shouting. So be calm. So if there's someone, if you don't know who has a mistake or who did this problem, so what you have to do is just to investigate, right? So do not give immediate judgment without investigating such a problem. So you have to be fair and consistent. Next one. Know the students you teach. This is what you call the first one that I've told you, which is who are our learners, right? So we have to determine who are our learners. You keep on throwing mistake to the students and you don't know that he has a problem in his house. Okay? So what you have to do is just to know first the students. Why he's like that one, why he's acting like that one. So that do not always give your judgment without investigating certain situation. Next one, we have address conflict quickly and wisely.
If there are problems, so you have to answer them or solve the problem quickly.
Yes.
In the fastest way as you can.
Do not wait for a certain time. Okay? If there's a problem, close the door, solve the problem, then when you open the door, okay, we're done, finish. Next one, integrate positive classroom rituals. Classroom rituals, what do you mean by integrate positive classroom rituals? Always think positive, always do positive things. Okay, in our classroom there in our country, sometimes every day, because we don't have cleaner. Monday you are the cleaners, so what you have to do is just to clean the board, clean the classroom, something like that. Everyday cleaner, and there's also one student who acts as a president, so he's the one who's communicating to the students. If I have certain things to give to them, I have to talk first to the president, and the president will talk to his classmates. So that's what you call the positive classroom rituals. With parents and guardians, I don't think here in our academy that we can communicate, especially if they're businessmen. So you don't have to communicate to the parents, right? But if you're dealing with the students, we're in young teenagers, if their parents were trying to visit or visiting you, asking about their sons, okay, what you have to do is just to tell the truth. Oh, your son is like this, and you can also give advices what to do. Because the father doesn't know how does his son react inside the classroom. So what you have to do is just to present what is the personality of his son inside the class so that he can do his responsibility as a parent. Next one, keep it real. Sometimes there are a lot of teachers, when I was young, even though it's not true, okay? So if there keeps on telling that I am like this, I am like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, then on the other hand, on the other day, so you found him telling another thing, okay? Meaning say the teacher is not consistent. So keep it real, make it true, okay? Make it be true to yourself if you are saying something. Do not just to create something so that to please the students. Okay, but sometimes we need that thing, right? Sometimes, but not all the time. Okay, for example, you're trying to discipline the student. Oh, you know, when in my country, it's not like that one. This like this, like this, and like that. And you found out, oh, so I have to behave like that one because it's a positive thing. Any reaction, bloody comments, or brutal reactions for that one? Next one. We have here, reading language, read statement, think 5 sentences that offer good advice, cross out other 2 sentences. Okay, so when we get advice, this is on how are we going to grade our language, on the speaking ability inside the classroom, or the language inside the classroom. I have here 7. Okay, there are 2 here, there are 2 sentences here, which is, I think they are not giving good advice. What are they?
Number 6.
Yes, Mr. said number 6, why?
Try to avoid difficult vocabulary, for example, very idiomatic language. But of course, we have to avoid highfalutin words
Yes.
presenting our discussion, because some of the students cannot understand, or here in Jazeera, even a simple word, they can't understand, how much more highfalutin words such as Old Englishes.
Remember that you are not talking to to professional English speakers, and they are in different levels, and that is the mere fact that we have to try to avoid difficult vocabulary, or what you call the idiomatic expressions. Okay, what do you mean by idiomatic expressions? These are the expressions which is, you know, if you're going to analyze them, they are very difficult to understand if you are not really good in English, right? Next one, what else?
4.
Number 4, why, sir?
Best have small words, article, positions, auxiliary.
Verbs.
Positions, auxiliary verbs, and so on, so that learners can focus on the content, words, and understand the language. If you are, okay, if for example in reading, your aim is, or your goal is just to get the answers for these questions, to get the ideas, of course we can do this one. But for sure, in a certain situations, we have to consider this one, right?
Yeah, even reading, sometimes we have to construct some grammar.
Yeah. Like for example, the skills in reading, we have scanning and scanning. So it's not really important for those auxiliaries, prepositions, right? Another?
Try to avoid complex grammar patterns.
What is this?
Example, your topic is a simple past. Okay, do not give you example like present past, and you will give example present perfect. All right, because present perfect talks about past to present, but when you say past tense, simple past only for past. We have to stick for our discussion.
Meaning to say, do not give them such as a confusing situation,
Yes.
confusing examples. Is that so? Okay, next one. Here, any questions? Nothing.
Thank you.
Another thing is the general tip, teaching tips. According to Mr. Google, what makes a good teacher? Well, that probably depends on the subject matter and the level of the student.
That's correct.
Correct. So, you know, there are some, like for example for me, my supervisor there in Riyadh gave an interpretations when it comes to my performance. Mr. Emilio is good when it comes to the lower levels. But when it comes to the higher levels, you know, there are some students who are complaining. And that is correct. I really admit the fact that I am not good in the higher level. Okay? So I can see myself teaching lower levels. And in fact, I really enjoy teaching lower levels. Next one. However, some teachers can make even most boring material seems interesting. Okay? You know, there are some teachers, even though that the material is really interesting, okay, the situation or the classroom seems to be all students are sleepy. Why? It is simply because of the way he presents himself. the way he presents the materials, something like that. Okay, and in the other way. Okay, some of it has to with the personality and charisma. Do you believe in this one?
Yeah, of
Yes.
course.
Yes. If your personality, if you're funny, the students really like you.
Not only funny, dress well, maybe.
Yes. So another thing is the way you present yourself inside the classroom.
Your wardrobe is something important.
Yes. Or if you're a kind of teachers, your zipper is open, your tie is up to here, and somehow there's smells bad, something like that. Some students, you can see them. Oh, that's it, right? And charisma. What do you mean by charisma? Building a good rapport to the students. Okay, building a good relationship to this. I think Mr. Arset has a charisma to his students. Right? That's why you can find students, we like Mr. Arset, we like Mr. Arset. But sometimes I cannot believe to the students. If they are looking at you, teacher, I like you, you're a very good teacher. Then when you go outside, they're talking to the other teacher. I don't like that teacher, I don't like that teacher, he's really bad. Okay? Sometimes you don't believe. That's life. So we cannot really concentrate to what students saying in front of you. So you can believe the students if they are talking something if you are not in there. Okay?
Backbiters.
Yes, they are backbiters.
So we should ask you what students tell about us.
I didn't receive any comment, any
that's good.
thing because they don't talk about it. Okay, next one is for teacher effective due to his or her knowledge and application. Yes, for example in Al-Baha, right? Oh teacher, I like you, something like that.
And then
But when
all
they
of
go-
a sudden, after
outside
1 week,
you see them inside the supervisor's office complaining about their performance.
we don't like this teacher. We need
Yes.
to change.
And you prepared your lesson and Mr. Ed will tell you, you have to move to the other class because students complain to you. Okay? And another thing, due to his or her knowledge and application of good teaching practices. Yes, that's a very good
course.
examples about your knowledge, about your applications, and as well as on how are you going to manage
Your
the
competence.
situations or your competency inside the classroom. Effective teaching begins prior to the teacher entering the classroom.
Before.
Okay, effective teacher begins prior to the teacher entering the classroom. What does a teacher needs to prepare before entering to the
The
classroom?
lesson.
The lesson plan. Do we have lesson plan in here? We're not doing lesson plan here. It's simply because that we taught the books for how many years, right? So we know how to deal with the books. We know how to present the lessons. Okay.
And the exercises themselves are simple.
Yes.
You don't need to prepare too much.
But for the higher levels, you need to prepare. Like for example, there are some words. What is this word? So I have to ask the other Filipino teachers, what is this? Please tell me. Please teach me what is this one? How can I present? Although I know the lessons, but when you say presentation, it's really difficult to present.
We
Right.
have to connect each other from conversation to grammar.
Yes, connecting.
What I mean is that when you look at an exercise like the listening exercise, for example, you just the same questions the same way each time. No variety of questions.
Yes, the
exercises.
same patterns.
So you don't
Right.
have to. You memorize everything.
Yeah. Teachers must formulate their goals and think about how they will achieve them before facing the students. You're not a teacher where you stand up and this is my lesson, blah blah blah, then after that one, what is your goal? Nothing. So we have to formulate our goal. But sometimes if we are lazy to teach and because the students are not listening, why should I exert effort if they don't like to learn? Right? It happens always there in SCT group. If they don't like to listen, if they don't like to learn,
They are here just for money.
Yes. Next one, once in the classroom, the teacher must be able to apply a number of difficult methods of teaching to reach students with the different learning styles. Okay? So we cannot really deny that as a teacher, we have to give different kinds of teaching methods, right? So that so that we can cope up with the teaching or learning styles of the students, because each student has a learning style. It depends on how he learns something, it depends on how is his learning style. Okay? My style, if I am studying, I don't like an environment where it's really noisy. And I like my foot is raised like this one. Okay? So I can easily learn. Next one. In order to encourage critical thinking and real-life application, students must be pushed to think outside the box. Okay? Thinking you have to
Get out from your also.
yes,
Imagine.
encourage them to speak more. Okay? Use their imaginations, use their creativity to formulate certain different sentences. This means teachers need to be able to create an environment for this to occur. General classroom tips. First one is effective discipline. It's really important, right? So you have to create a discipline. You have to impart discipline to the students so that you can facilitate your lesson, okay, starting and up to the end. Practicing effective questioning, okay? So we have to create certain questions or good questions so that we can ask the students to answer. Encourage cooperative learning. What do you mean by cooperative learning?
Students
Yes. So
help each other.
helping each other, cooperating for a certain situation so that they can learn each other. Self-evaluation. What is self-evaluation?
You're evaluating yourself, taking a test or exams, again, and you will try to evaluate, oh, how far did I...
When it comes to the students, how do you evaluate students?
Giving quizzes.
Yeah, giving quizzes, and sometimes when it comes to behavior, oh, you're really nice student, you're a very good student. That matter, so the student is starting to build his self-confidence. Encouraging students to explore foreign answers. This is what I'm telling you. Encouraging students to give more answers. Teaching with a constructivist learning theory. From the word constructing. Okay, constructing different sentences, giving certain different opinions, particularly in a certain topic. Okay, fostering independent thinking. We have to encourage students to have an independent thinking. Teamwork in the classroom. Yes, so we're also try to encourage them to work as a team, not only always individual, no. Next one's motivating students, of course. So we have to motivate students so that they can learn a lot of things. Motivate them, give them certain activities to push their learning styles, right? Next. How do we give instructions? Okay, making instructions clear to the language learners can be a challenge. Why? If we're making or giving instructions, this should be a challenge for us. Why?
Yes, because we need to use words that is appropriate to the levels of understanding of the students. Okay, we have to...
Sometimes you just provoke the students, so they're going to go against that.
So that's going to be a challenging part for us, right?
Sometimes they're not reading the instruction, they're directly answering.
Pertaining to for the examinations.
There are individual differences between the students, so you have to... Not all the instructions will work for all the students.
And that's the reason why after giving instructions verbally, so we can also demonstrate, right? Next one. Unfortunately, there is no magic formula for giving instructions that works for all students in all situations. That's what you're trying to tell me. It's what you call they are different. Okay, they are different to each other. And however, a variety of strategies applied in the combinations will help teachers reach a wider range of students and will serve to clarify and reinforce instructions for the students as well. Even though that they are different to each others, we do have a variety of styles. We do have a variety of methods on how are we going to instruct students individually or general instructions. Here are a few practical ideas in giving instructions. The first one is when lesson planning, consider how you will give instructions for tasks. If you're planning your lessons, okay, how can I give? How can I instruct the students? What is my way? And how are we going to present this one to my students? That's the first thing that we have to do. For each activity or assignment, think yourself, how can I convey this task clearly to the students? Next one is plan enough time in your lesson to deliver instructions early and go check students' understanding. Do not deliver instructions hurriedly while the bell is ringing. Giving instructions, the bell is ringing, or that's already time. Okay, we'll just continue this one, and without knowing, you're giving them on homework. Then on the other day, where's your homework? What do you expect? So, teacher, I don't know what to do. It's simply because that you are in hurry for the time and you did not give the correct instructions to the students. Okay? Be sure you have all students' attention when giving instructions. Insist on it and never make exemptions. Making sure that all eyes are in front, all of them are looking at you before giving instructions so that you will not gonna repeat it again. It happens always in the listening test, right? So you have to wait all the students, okay, because you don't like to repeat again the instructions. Next one, be well prepared not only for verbal delivery of instructions, but also with instructions written in a clear, concise, simple English on the board. Okay, so to sum up this one, be prepared for giving instructions. Okay, and I think next one, model the task and always do an example together with the class, even for homework and exercise. Okay, giving such as examples. Next one is use comprehensive checks and involve students actively in the instructions process. Have students repeat assignment or instructions back to you after giving instructions. Okay, can you please repeat what is this all about, so that to make it sure that they got the instructions clearly. Okay, and that ends my topic. Thank you very much for listening.